Hey guys, it's Tammi Van Hollander, and today is going to be super fun. And I am so excited to geek out with Sophia Ansari. Sophia is like the popular culture geeking out guru of just you do so much creative, awesome stuff, and being able to bridge popular culture into creative interventions and healing kids. And I'm so excited, Sophia, that you're here today. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Tammy. And I'm fangirling right now over you. I'm geeking out over Tammy Van Hollander. Somebody fan me. Thank you again so much for having me. And I can't wait to really delve into how we can use superheroes and our favorite movies and TV shows to help our clients heal. So I'm really excited. And I've actually been thinking a lot about self-care lately and checking in with my friends and family and asking them how they've been taking care of themselves. And I think a lot of us are sort of immersing ourselves into our movies and books, TV shows. I don't know if you've picked up a book recently, but a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just really just immersing myself in that as sort of a healthy escape from everything else that's going on. And so I was thinking, we're really relying on our parasocial relationships to get us through this really difficult time right now. And parasocial relationships are the attachments and bonds we form to fictional characters. So these characters inspire us, right? And sometimes just recognizing how our favorite heroes have gone through difficult experiences can make us feel less alone, and that can be very healing. And so it's really through this filter of fiction, is what I like to call it, that we can help our clients express their own thoughts and feelings and experiences. And I always say in the trainings that I do, and I do like Harry Potter therapy and superhero therapy, I always say never discount the playfulness of storytelling. And Tammy, I know you're such a fan of that. I know you understand the value of storytelling, because children, they actually learn very well through narratives, and they learn very well especially through narratives that are interesting to them. And so what we need to do is to ask, our kiddos, what are the things you're into? What movies are you watching lately? What TV shows? What comic books? And then use that interest in the therapeutic relationship to connect, because isn't that what it's all about? It's connection. And when we use those elements of their interests, then we're allowing them to feel seen and heard and validated. So even if you don't know a whole lot about Superman or Batman, ask. Let me know more about that. Can you tell me more about that? I'd love to learn more. And then use those metaphors in your therapy interventions. It helps you it inspires you, I would say, to create those interventions. So I want to share a couple, if that's okay. And I know I gave you some homework. And you did a
Sure.
beautiful. So I'm going to share. I'm going to share a little PowerPoint, and I have our pictures. And so the first intervention comes from the movie Inside Out, which, Tammy, I know you've watched it, and you also have an intervention that you do, which I love that video that you have released on the Inside Out intervention. And I'd like to thank my colleague, Elise Gamble. She had us do this in a workshop last year, and we had so much fun doing this. And so I just thought it was a great idea. And so, if you remember from the movie, there's a scene that describes the islands of personality in Riley's mind, right? And they're these representations of the different aspects of Riley's personality that really define her as a person. And I think she had islands like Goofball Island and Hockey Island and Friendship Island. And so we can be inspired by this movie and this scene in the movie to help our own kids and clients discuss aspects of their own personality and the qualities and strengths that are especially getting them through this difficult time right now. And so you can even use some of these sort of prompts where, they should have at least 3 islands, and then one should represent important people, one should represent important hobbies, and then one should represent their strengths. Because we always want to be focusing on our kids' strengths. That's really important. And so I would play a clip from the movie, which you can usually go on YouTube and find a clip or if you have the DVD, find the clip and then say, okay, I want you to create your islands of personality. And so we did create our own. I drew mine out. I'm not a very good artist, but and then Tammi, you made some beautiful sand trays. And so you can do this, yeah, sand tray, drawing, Legos, really the sky is the limit as far as how you want to depict these. So here are my islands. And so again, these are aspects of my personality. And especially I think I'm really relying on these things to get me through all of the, the social distancing and the quarantine that we're doing right now. And I'm really counting on these things right now. So first and foremost, family island. My family unit is so important to me, my husband and son. And we're especially, taking this moment to just be together, play together. I've never played so many board games in my life, but we've been having so much fun. And so, yeah, just connecting with each other, playful, has just been so meaningful. So that's a really big part of my personality. And I didn't even realize it, but it actually looks a lot bigger than the other islands, which I didn't really think, I wasn't consciously thinking, right? But that sort of happens, doesn't it? So through our creations. And then I've got Nature Island. That's been really helpful. Been going out as much as I can. And just connecting with nature and animals, and I love animals. So that's been really grounding for me, and just allowing myself to have that mindfulness and that self-compassion when I'm out in nature. So that's been huge for my self-care. And then I've got Fandom Island, which we just talked about. I'm a huge geek. So I've got my Harry Potter, which we're actually reading the books, and then after each book, we're watching the movies. So that's been really huge in our house. Playing video games together, comic books. Tammi, I probably actually should have put you on this island too. So just know you're actually on the island because I fangirl over you. So we're gonna just bloop. And then I've got Baker's Island. I've been baking a lot with my son, and that's been a nice activity to connect as well. So that's been a really great experience. So I could probably open up a cake shop with how much baked goods I have right now. And then finally, Humor Island, which is actually one of my top strengths. I had taken the viacharacter.org, the strengths, and you can go to that website, and it's a sort of a cross-cultural common language that describes the best qualities in human beings. And I talk a lot about this in my workshops about how, again, we need to focus on those strengths. And I know, Tammi, you do the nurtured heart approach, and that's all about strengths work, right? It's all about focusing on those good qualities. And so when I had taken that survey, humor and playfulness was, I think, number 2. It was at the top. So, and that's how really I get through a lot of things in life, is just relying on that humor, that playfulness. The memes are getting me through these times. I don't know if do you like the Baby Yoda memes at all, Tammi? Because I don't know if you've even watched. Have you watched any of that on the Disney? Are you a Star Wars fan, Tammi? Okay. No judgment.
I need to get geeked out by you for you to fill me in on.
Okay,
You
I
are
will
way, way cooler than I am. Although you call me geek, I'm like, Sophia is so much cooler than me.
No, you're amazing, and everyone is about to see that through your beautiful creation. So in a nutshell, yeah, those are sort of the defining aspects of my personality, and I would add more or whatever. That's why I had that sort of those prompts where you should at least have 3. And I think really it's like identifying people's values. So we'll go ahead and I'll switch to yours. And you created yours in the sand tray. And so we'll go through each one individually, but yeah, it's just beautiful, beautiful work, Tammi. So I'll go ahead, and if you want to talk about your first island here.
So this was Grief Island. This island represented all the people who I've lost, specifically my mom and the butterfly of transformation, but other people that I've lost in my life. And I just felt like the people who I've lost in my life are so much a part of where I am, and this idea of being able to just have them part of my life, that grief island. And grief has been coming up so much with everything with the pandemic. I just have felt extra connected to those who I've lost.
It's very beautiful, Tammi.
And this I put in the center, and this was Hope Island, and just this need for hope for the world. And I have my Buddha, the earth, flowers, it's spring that are blooming. I think of flowers as life, just the waterfall in the back, and just, yeah, how are we centered, and just this idea of things are going to be okay, and just felt like we really needed an island of hope.
Absolutely. I could definitely feel that growth and that nurturance just exuding from that tray. So thank you. It's beautiful.
And this I called Reset Island. And so I have my sloth doing yoga. I have my turtle, which I so want to be my spirit animal because I so need to slow down. And this is just really almost like my safe place, but also a place to be able to reset. I have my shell of the beach, and the pond is actually a mirror of reflection. And I really saw this as a time to really reset as well as reflect.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I need a sloth. I think that's my spirit animal.
Yes. And this is Harvey Island. So I have the fun person in the background, that happy face that's just fun and playful and silly. I love tennis. I'm a big tennis player. Lately, the weather's been great, and I've been playing a lot of basketball at home with my 20-year-old daughter and 17-year-old son. And that has been so much fun, as being able to play basketball together. I was looking for my art palette to put there, and I couldn't find it to represent just being creative. And then I have the tree and the stone and the pine cone of hiking, just like you said, Sophia, how important being outside and being in nature is, and that's probably number one for me, of really being in nature. So that's my hobby island.
Absolutely. Love that.
And this really represents family, friends, and connections from all over the world. That I think that since this pandemic, I've connected with so many people from all over the world, just doing these interviews and checking in with people, and just even family members reaching out to more than I would have before. And that I feel like the positive of this pandemic has been that I have felt more connected to so many people than I feel like I ever have been before. And that's been really grounding for me.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so powerful.
And then it's so funny because my main greatness sticks are at home, and I came to the playroom to do them, but these are my other greatness sticks. You had asked one of the questions of, for one of the islands, for it to be your island of strength. So this is my brave girl that Kennedy had made. She's great. And I just put resilient, strong, fun, hopeful, mindful, appreciative, brave, and passionate, and being able to, yeah, look at that, of that these are the strengths. I started thinking like, oh, should I put all the things that are hard on another island? But your directions were to keep it within my strengths, and that's what I do also with the nurtured heart approach too, that we really have to celebrate and honor our greatness. So that's my little corner of strengths.
I love it. And I also love, like, not only are these your strengths, but you're helping all of us, all of these clinicians out here cultivate these strengths as well through all the resources you've been providing us. You're helping us become more brave as we sort of embark on this new territory of telehealth and trying to connect with our clients through the wire. We're getting a lot of strength from you. Resilience is one of your ultimate superpowers. And I always say resilience is not some unattainable superpower. It is something that we all can cultivate within us. And I think you've done that so much for me. Is, when I feel uninspired, I read, I read Casey's Greatness Wings, or I watch one of your videos and I feel inspired again. So I sort of bounce forward again. Passionate. I mean, you've always ignited this passion for play within me. And I know for our community, the play therapists, you fill us with hope. You're fun. You ground us through just your presence. So we're just very appreciative of you. And that's, see, literally, these are your strengths, but these are literally the strengths you're helping us build. So I really appreciate you creating these beautiful, beautiful trays. I mean, really, I know you said it was a really powerful intervention for you. And I think sand tray is powerful. I mean, it's just such a beautiful, modality. So I love it. I love that you're at least reminding yourself of all these aspects of yourself that's getting you through this. But I just wanted you to know that you're also helping us. So thank you, Tammy. I'll send you a
It was a really powerful exercise to be able to come in and to do that. I mean, anytime I do a sand tray, and with this type of prompt, it was very powerful. I'll definitely be using this with my
for
clients.
sure. Yeah. Inside Out is it's such a great movie, and there's so much you can just be so inspired by that. And that there's another show. So I work mostly with older children, and a lot of the kids, when I ask them, well, so what are you into these days? What are you watching? What are you reading? A lot of them have been talking to me about a show on Netflix. It's actually based off of the graphic novel Lock and Key. And I don't know if I think you said you're going to put this on your list of things to watch. So I've given you more homework, right? But
When I have
in,
some
yeah, when you have some time. But in a nutshell, it's about these siblings who find these keys, and each key gives them new superpowers or new abilities. And one of the keys is called the head key, and I have it up here. It can be used to enter another person's mind, and it gives the user access to that person's memories and emotions and personality aspects of that individual. And so it sort of reminded me of the Islands of Personality. But if you're working with a kid who's really into lock and key, then how about we use this storytelling element and say, okay, if we could go into your mind, what would that look like? And in the show, there's a really powerful scene where one of the characters, she goes inside her own mind, and she goes in there and she finds her fear monster. So it's literally like this monster. It kind of looks like her, but it's kind of scary. And she takes the monster and she literally drags it outside of her mind. And so the scene shows her dragging the fear monster and then burying it. And then really that sort of opens up I guess, the questioning, the processing to, well, what would it be like if we didn't have fear? And you kind of see this character go through these different things and how she doesn't always think before she acts. And of course, we know every emotion serves a purpose. Fear can protect us, right? And so we see her making a lot of choices that maybe she shouldn't be making, but she doesn't have that fear in her anymore. So again, that sort of is a wonderful springboard into talking about how all of our emotions serve a purpose, and also allowing the client to sort of create a depiction of what the inside of their mind would look like. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what we just did with the Islands of Personality. But again, if you've got a kiddo that's into lock and key, then this is a metaphor that you can use with your intervention. So definitely check this out, Tammy. I recommend it. Okay.
Right.
I went through it in like 2 days. So it's really good. And I actually was just reminded because one of the first of your trays that we just talked about was your grief island. And I know before we got on here, I kind of asked you what sort of shows you're into, and you said This Is Us was something that you do watch. Is that right? Okay. So there was a scene, I don't know how many seasons ago this was, but when the grandfather, or when the father, Randall's father, had passed away, his biological father, and the girls were trying to process the loss of their grandfather, and Kevin, who's their uncle, had brought out this picture, and it was sort of a blot of colors. There's just a mesh of different colors, and he holds this painting up, and he's trying to process grief with them because they're trying to ask him, when will we ever get through this? Will we ever get over this? And he holds up this painting, and again, it's just a bunch of different colors, kind of splotched all over. And he says, life is a lot like this painting. We all bring our beautiful color into the world. And when we die, when we pass on, we leave that color behind in this painting, right? We leave a mark in this world. So we're never really gone, because that beauty that your grandfather left behind, that beauty that your mother left behind, it's always here. It's part of this beautiful painting that we're all a part of. And that was a very moving scene. I always have the Kleenex when I'm watching that show.
Always.
Um, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful inspiration behind maybe an intervention I can do with someone who's going through grief and loss, and also, a fan of the show, and using that metaphor. And so a lot of times I'll have clients sort of create we'll do like a finger paint, just throw a lot of different color into the painting. And we'll talk about what were some of the things your mom left behind in this world? What are some of the values, some of the things that she's left behind that you continue to lead, and grow with. And so that's sort of like, again, it's just you're watching a show and you get inspired and it becomes this powerful technique. And so I've had that. And I've had clients say, I have this painting hanging up now just to remind me of the color that my loved one left behind, because we all bring color into this world.
It also
So
reminds me of the book. I don't know, not that many people know of it. It's called Rabbityness. Do you know that book?
never heard of it. No.
A wonderful children's book on grief, and that one day Rabbit wasn't there, and Rabbit had brought all this color to the world, and basically the forest turned black and white, and there was no longer any color. And eventually they go into the rabbit hole, and they go deep into the hole, and they found music in color and paint and all the things that Rabbit had left behind. And all of them, the whole community goes and they color the forest, and they play music, and they paint and bring all the color back that Rabbit had left for them. And it's just a beautiful children's book.
I love that.
To that, but it's beautiful. I can't think of the author, but it's called Rabbityness. It's a special one on grief.
Okay, I love that. So that's on my list. See, now I've got homework too. So I will definitely read that and get that. That's beautiful. So again, we're just being inspired by the playfulness of storytelling, right? And that's what it is. And then I just wanted to share another intervention, and this comes from our comic book world, our superhero world. I love using superheroes to offer my clients that support and inspiration and compassion and strength that they need. And so one of my favorite comic books is the Green Lantern universe, or the Green Lantern Corps. And so it's an actually pretty interesting concept, but there's an emotional spectrum where all these different superheroes represent all these different emotions. And so in this world, the ring actually chooses the characters based on what emotions they're feeling. And so you can ask your child, your client, which ring would choose you today. And then you could have them create the ring out of construction paper, Play-Doh, Legos, whatever it is. And the really interesting facet of this is that in the comic books, the lanterns can have more than one ring, just as we can have more than one emotion, right? And so now this is actually a little more complicated than I'm discussing right now, because if you're an avid comic book reader, you know that it's not as simple as these emotions. It's actually complicated. The further out from the center of the spectrum you get, the more intensely you feel emotions. If you've got a client who's really into this and they know the storyline, they're going to share those details with you and you can further process it. But for the kiddos who just know that, the Green Lantern isn't the only lantern that exists, and that there are other lanterns, and this is a nice little check-in feelings activity. I don't know, have you seen I think there was one movie out on the Green Lantern with Hal Jordan, and I think it was Ryan Reynolds in that movie, which I kind of pretend didn't exist. But have you seen that movie, Tammy? Did you see that one?
I feel like I may have seen parts of it.
You might have. It's been a while. So then a lot of kids are at least familiar with that universe. But again, if you've got someone older who's actually read the comic books and they really know these storylines, then they'll be able to really elaborate more on these lanterns. But again, you sort of ask, hey, what ring would choose you today and why? And there's a really great additional kind of piece to this, and I love doing this with families too, but every lantern has an oath that they take. And I only have a few up here. I don't have all of them, but, and so they're kind of poetic. And so you would ask, what oath would you take today? And I think for me, I would pick hope. So that's the blue, and I'm just going to read it. It says, in fearful day, in raging night, with strong hearts full, our souls ignite. When all seems lost in the war of light, look to the stars, for hope burns bright. I think that would be the oath that I would want to take right now and give out to the world. And I've had families do this together, and I would say, well, what would be the oath of your sibling? And so many times I'll have siblings say, well, my baby sister would be the orange lantern. What's mine is mine, and mine and mine and mine and mine and mine, not yours. And then, that gives me a lot of insight into that family dynamic, right? And so it's always, it's actually a lot of fun, and families love this. And again, for the kiddos who are really familiar, they get this, and I love the poetry behind it. I think it's really beautiful. So this always speaks more to my adolescence. So that's a good one, the Green Lantern universe. So put that on your list of things you need to learn about Tammi. Giving you homework. And then just a few more, just again, we're a very Batman centric household. So I had my husband and son partake in some activities here. And so as we know, superheroes, they have headquarters, right? So Superman has his Fortress of Solitude, and Batman has his Batcave. So you can ask the child to create their safe superhero lair and remind them that this is a place that they can return to and recharge their superpowers anytime that they feel that they need to. So my husband sort of reimagined what the Batcave should look like, and since he's really into technology, he put a lot of technology in there, and so that's sort of his visualized safe space, right? It's his version of the Bat Cave. And then my son, we recreated the utility belt of coping skills. Of course, we know Batman has his gadgets to help him when he's in trouble, and so you can print out these different gadgets online and then have the child write their coping skills on the gadgets, and then they can wear it, they can hang it up, and I have it in front of me. So we kind of printed like a little flashlight, and you put draw if he's feeling upset. He's got different things that I kind of found a cell phone, and we made little pockets, and this says be kind to yourself, give yourself hugs. So again, you're just kind of picking the things that interest our kiddos. And for my son, it's Batman is everything. And using that to sort of equip them with that social and emotional support that they need. So hopefully that was helpful and at least somewhat inspiring to folks who, might want to try some pop culture.
Sophia, awesome. It's so helpful. And I think, we forget about that point. And it's so important. I mean, we have to meet kids where they are. And if this is their world, this is the best way to be able to enter their world and to be able to hear the different stories of these different characters and how they're portrayed. And yet again, in every one of my interviews, how are we offering that safe psychological distance from their problems and having them be able to create? So I loved all of these interventions. So I am going to, though, put underneath some ways that people can find you, some
Sure.
links, and even the link to, because I did that. What was the personality one? The link that you had said to for
Sure,
strength.
it's the viacharacter.org, so VIA character.org. And if people are familiar with positive psychology and Martin Seligman and Chris Peterson's work, it's a free survey that people can take, and people have taken it from all over the world. And I think it's translated in 37 languages. And it really is this cross-cultural common language describing the best qualities in all of us. And it's not just the psychology and education world that's used it. I've worked with veterans, so the military has used it, business sectors have used it, and it really gives you an inventory of your strengths. And we all share these strengths at varying degrees. So yeah, if you put that website up, everyone can go take it, make sure you print, you click on free report. You shouldn't have to pay anything. And it will give you a rundown of your 24 character strengths in rank order. And it's highly valid, highly reliable. It's really a great tool. And I really highly suggest everybody use that. So yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and before we end, I know you have all your trainings and things like that, but you also had told me, which I didn't know about, was your podcast. So I think a lot of people would be interested also in the podcast that you're doing. This is such a good time to be catching up on podcasts.
Sure, yeah. So I'm part of the Geek Therapy Network. So you can go to geektherapy.com. And actually, there's a lot of us. We have podcasts, and a lot of us come from education backgrounds and clinical psychology, therapist backgrounds. And we all talk about how to use video games and comic books and movies to heal people. And so you can go to geektherapy.com. And then my podcast is Hero Nation. So we really focus on diversity in the media and how it's important to see people who look like ourselves in the comic books. And then my co-host is Breck Warren, and he's an educator. So he talks all about how he uses comic books in the classroom. And so I also want to say on the geektherapy.com site, there's actually a lot of free resources. If you go at the top and I think you click on resources and you can go to library. There's a lot of free activities that other people in the community have created and want to share. So definitely check out geektherapy.com. And then we also have, there's the Facebook community. And this was all created by a friend and colleague of mine, Josue Cardona. And we call him the father of geek therapy. So he knows so much about video games. So you can always ask him. So that's his baby, that's his wheelhouse. And then he's so nice to have us, present our podcasts on that network. So yeah, check that out. Thank you so much for that shout out.
Awesome. 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 Okay. Sophia, thank you so much for taking your time. I love this. This was super fun, and I'm totally going to be using these. I think they are great. And yeah, I love doing my own island of personality. So it was super powerful. And it was so good to be able to catch up with you and
Yes.
hear all the awesome stuff that you're doing.
Sending virtual hugs.
Virtual hugs. And I will talk to you soon, Sophia. Thank you so much. Take care.
You too.